Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Analytics Mindset. In this video, I'm going to go into the Dataiku Advanced Designer Certification, what I took to actually get that certification, and tips and tricks for it. This certification is a little bit different than the previous one I have done. You need access to Dataiku to take it. It sounds funny, but Dataiku is a little bit different than other certifications. Tableau allowed me to take my certification when I took the Tableau Desktop Specialist with my personal account. Same with Microsoft and Google. Dataiku does not. You will need access to it. That might restrict for a lot of people the certification, but that's a little FYI. I could take it through my profile at Walmart, and that's always good to know. So, yes, as an FYI, if you're trying to take this certification, keep in mind that you may or may not be eligible if your employer or your academic institution offers the AQ, but you will need access to the AQ in some way or capacity. You can see here how I got the code designer 2 years ago. I did not post a video about it. That was before I started doing videos of certifications, but now I'm doing it. So 2025, July 7th. This is for the advanced designer. I enrolled here on the 7th and I finished it on the 12th. Now, when you actually look at the certification, this is how it looks like. It would say certificate of completion. This was given to you and you have completed the advanced designer certificate. It will tell you when it was issued, in my case, the 12th, that was yesterday, the certification number, and how the view that other people can use to see it outside of the IQ. It's offered by the IQ, obviously, the Advanced Designer, and as you can see, it has also the IQ Academy that you can also download it as PDF. Now, to get the Advanced Designer, you are going to need to get the learning pad. DataQ has a lot of learning paths, and for some background information, as a refresher, DataQ is an ETL processing tool, meaning that it is a tool that you can use to extract, transform, and load different things. We have talked about in the past how BigQuery, the schedule queries, allows you to automate a lot of SQL scripts. DataQ offers you more of a visual interface. You can use this visual interface to get different views, to do orchestration. You can also do processing in database, in data queue, in other things. You can use Spark, etc. It allows you for a lot more flexibility than you will be able to do otherwise. The code designer is your first step with DataQ. The advanced designer that I took is become an expert on DataQ visual tools and building data pipelines. As you can see, there is 4 other paths, each of them with a certification. I will not go into them today, but if you're interested in them, I strongly recommend you. I think the actual information of the certifications is totally free. You can access it without an account. But if you actually want to complete them, you are going to need to get a directory instance, one way or another. This is the Advanced Designer Certification. You can see that it is in the advanced level and it takes you 2 hours and 30 minutes. Target profiles are data designers, either business analysts, data engineers, or power users, and a small description of what it offers you. This certification has 3 recommended courses and then 4 additional learning. I completed all of them, but as you can see here, you will get 30 minutes for variables, 60 for data pipelines, and 60 minutes of content for data quality and automation. These learning materials, in my experience when I took the actual certification, are not really important at all. It's more of background information. They were not really tested at all. Take it as you wish. I had a similar experience when I took the core certification. I just went through the required materials and I just skim over the additional learning. I did put some more time in the additional learning this time around. But if you're not really interested in any of this, for me at least the only one that I was interested it was partitioning. You really don't need this or unpredicted deployment because it's a concept that applies outside of the acute. But I will just focus on these 3 to not make this video that long. Variables, data pipelines, and data quality information. Variables is 5 lessons. It goes into first the variables 101, the how do you create project variables in visual recipes, and a course checkpoint that tells you which quizzes you can which questions you will need to answer to pass this module. I will not show the actual material because I don't know the accuse policy on this and I don't want to get flagged, but you can see how the about this course will show you that you can create a variable. If you come from a programming background like me, you will find this very familiar. You have local variables, global variables, project variables. You are just creating something that then you can use and store a value there and rewrite it if necessary. The queue writes it on JSON. You will need to store it on JSON. There is multiple ways to do it, but it will be you can declare it in JSON syntax. That's the easier one. It is recommended by designer, as you see, and you will need to pass it with 80% at the checkpoint. Data pipelines. This course covers building models, connection changes, and computation engines. This course is a little bit more closer to a traditional data engineering role. Actually, I would say it relies very heavily on previous knowledge on that. If you're not familiar with ETL process, you might need to refresh a little bit here. You will go into strategies for building and managing data pipelines. A data pipeline is an actual flow that will extract things from somewhere, then transform them, and then load them somewhere. It is very synonymous with ETL process. The data queue has very specific information here. Schema propagations is one of them. How do you change storage connections? What can you connect into? And how can you compute things? In my experience, one of the strongest parts of data queue, although it makes it redundant when you have all your stuff in the same database, is that you can do in database computing. Meaning that you can send a very long query to the database and then bring it back to the data queue. Why? Because data queue has processing power, but it's usually in memory. It depends on the server and the instance that your administrator sets, and you don't really have control of this. You get an instance, you get told, hey, you have this, deal with it. There is not really room for interpretation there, and that can cause some issues. When you do it in database, you are sending that to the database, and the database is executing it. It's better because databases usually have a higher limit to the queries, obviously, because you're doing hundreds of queries at any given point. Also, what modes can you see in the queue? How can you build a dataset? Do you build it upstream? Do you build it downstream? Do you change the schema when you are building upstream, when you're building downstream, etc.? You can use models to build efficiently. You can use zones to restrict things to one thing or another. You can also use the receive engine to select some stuff. And finally, you will also need to pass with 80%. The last one is data quality and automation, and the longest one, at least lesson-wise, not really in time-wise. You will go into metrics, data quality rules, data lineage, and data quality. If you are a data steward, you are in a more traditional, I want to say, data quality role where you are the one responsible of owning the meanings of these metrics, of these concepts, and also the actual drift, meaning that this should mean this and not go here or there. This is going to be very familiar to you. If not, think more of it as this value means something, and it should mean something. How do I check that this means this? I know it sounds very obscure, but the best example I can give you is you have this dollar value that represents your sales. Sales shouldn't be a string, for example. You shouldn't expect a, I don't know, in the sales column. Sales should always be a value, and if you don't have a value, it should either be null most likely. That would be the recommended practice. That is a data quality concept. You can see that here you have data quality rules and scenarios to automate these flows in data queue. They focus on a specific case. That case has credit card fraud in it. How to identify if a transaction is fraudulent or not. You can create a lot of data quality rules in data queue. And you can also automate it fully with scenarios. Scenarios are also a big part, not here specifically, but in the whole. It is split between variables, data pipelines, and data quality. You will enter scenarios that is basically data queues automation. How do you run things over and over again? In data quality, at least, you can refresh metrics. You can say, hey, this data set should be between 20,000 and 50,000 rows. Give me a warning if it does not. And a good part of data queue is that actually it will also send you a warning to your email or Microsoft Teams or even your Slack distribution list. That is always something handy. Now, you will also need to understand some key building blocks for data quality. Data quality costs money because you need to set up a whole different set of rules to check for things. You will need to build it through scenarios. You can always refresh it on a scenario or not, depending on what you want to do. And you can also use triggers. Triggers are what actually runs on a scenario. A trigger example would be, and this is more of an orchestration concept. Run this every single day at 9 a.m. That is a trigger. And finally, users to reporters. So reporters will send things to users about the scenario via a specific message channel. And we will also need to pass it with an 80%. After you're done with the 3 courses, then you will need to take the exam. The exam itself is 20 questions. It's funny because the core design is actually 25. The more advanced version of it is, for some reason, shorter than the previous one, but it makes sense too because the course designer certification also covers a lot more. It goes into a lot more things, just because it's more general and covers a lot of other things. But yeah, that is it. If you use Dataiku, I strongly recommend this certification. I will say I did find some stuff that I myself didn't know about, and it's always good to know things because Dataiku can have some very hidden stuff in the interface. You will have things that are here or there, and you don't really know what they mean, or you may just want to learn more about a specific topic. For me, scenarios at least, that was useful to know. And I do use DataQ rather extensively from time to time. That is a disclaimer there. If you don't, then yes, it's not going to be as useful to you. But yeah, with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, let me know if you have any feedback. I appreciate any support that you can